Thank you, everybody. This is Rob Barnes with Integrated Insurance Consulting, and today's topic is annuity myths and today's reality. Today, we'll discuss fixed and indexed annuities. We'll share some unique uses of them and some real-world examples with actual results. We'll dive into important considerations when choosing an annuity. So there's two general categories for annuities. They're either deferred or immediate. Now, immediate annuities are also known as income annuities. And just to confuse you a little bit more, there's DIAs, which is a deferred immediate or income annuity. And most of the most basic meaning of an annuity is a fixed sum of money paid each year to someone, typically for the rest of their life. Two big examples of this are Social Security and pensions. They're known as income annuities. We love our acronyms in the insurance business, and so SPIA is a single premium immediate annuity. This is where you fork over a lump sum to the insurance company, and they agree to pay you as designed, guaranteed. So some love annuities, and others, like Ken Fisher, love to hate annuities. And there's two main reasons. They think or believe they can invest and do better, or they don't want the insurance company to make a windfall profit if they die early. The first point is debatable, and the second one is our first myth to bust. You see, a lifetime income annuity delivers exactly what it guarantees: income for the rest of your life. And today, there are contingencies to protect your principal if you die early. So it's best to understand these contingencies with some actual numbers here. You see, a female age 65 buying a $500,000 single premium immediate annuity. Her lifetime income would be $36,000 a year, and that is straight life. So if she did die 2 days after starting the income, nothing is left. But it isn't a windfall profit to the insurance company. The people who die early help us pay the people who live longer. So if we're worried about dying early and, so to speak, losing the bet, we add one of these contingencies. We can have period certain, a 10-year period certain, or a 20-year. You can see it's lower to guarantee it for 20 years. This essentially just says that if I paid you for 5 years and you die, we'll pay you for 5 or 15 more years. And then the refund, either cash or installment, says if we've paid you for 10 years and we paid $34,000 a year, that's $340,000. If you pass after that time period with a cash refund, they'll pay the $160 balance in a lump sum. If you have the installment refund, they'll continue to pay the $35,000 until they've paid out a total of $500,000. And what I want to emphasize is there's a little bit of a tax play here in regards to non-qualified annuities because of the exclusion ratio. A significant portion of the income will not be taxed until they reach maturity age, life expectancy age, which essentially means that they paid out all your principal back, and now it all becomes taxable in the long run, to be clear. So another myth is you can't have increasing income with an annuity, and that's wrong. We know that we love Social Security because it's inflation adjusting. And the reality of today is just most people pick straight life level income because they look at the difference. So in this case, a female getting $36,000 a year with no increases, if she started the same annuity today with COLA, she'd get $27,000. Now it'd take about 10 years for that to equal the $36,000 in income, and a number of years after before you, so to speak, break even. But if you're not sure, just as you diversify investments, I might diversify insurance, and I might buy some of both so that I'm not at one extreme or the other, because the reality is I don't know how long I'm going to live. And if I'm thinking I'm going to potentially live long, maybe I do want the COLA on some of my benefits. So how are annuities made? Well, it's all math based on 3 variables: interest, expenses, and mortality. Fixed and index deferred annuities guarantee the principal and grow tax deferred. Annuities guarantee income, and at the end of the day, like other insurance products, they deliver peace of mind by guaranteeing an outcome. Sorry about my voice here. There are overzealous insurance agents that think everyone should own an annuity, and there are also underzealous advisors that think no one should own an annuity. I suggest that you consider annuities for clients that are expected to live longer, longevity in their genes, and take care of themselves well. For your more conservative clients that just can't handle too much risk, to add peace of mind to their cash flow so they can ride the market with less stress. And certainly when the drawdown rate becomes unsustainable and too high and they're starting to shrink into their assets, it might be time to annuitize. And perhaps when they're in the home stretch of retirement, to avoid a bad sequence of returns. Insurance companies do have certain advantages versus an individual investor trying to provide income with bond ladders or investment distributions. Since carriers have scale, they can aggregate the cash flow for the group, allowing them to better match assets and liabilities over time. They can buy longer duration bonds and get better rates. They can add higher risk bonds for better returns. They often hold the bonds until maturity, which minimizes their interest rate risk of redeeming at the wrong time. And they can take advantage of institutional pricing and diversify across markets. So they have expenses, and some of the better run carriers can keep these low, providing a better bottom line. And for those that are concerned about the fact that a lot of annuities pay commissions, commissions are really part of the distribution cost. So they're built in one way or the other for carriers distributing annuities. Now, for those of you that follow Mike Kitces, I know he uses the terminology of mortality credits because that's what's paid in income annuities. And at the heart of insurance is the concept of pooling risk altogether. So contrary to popular belief, the big bad insurance company doesn't make that windfall profit when somebody dies early without contingencies. That money helps us pay those that live longer. We're just getting a piece of the action along the way. And the insurance companies can balance the risk and get they get a piece of the action and balance the risk. They provide peace of mind and deliver guarantees, while investing can only project. So a lifetime income annuity, each payment includes three things: principal, interest, and mortality credits. There's some recent studies out that even show that owning an annuity can help you live longer. Think of it. If you know living longer makes your annuity a better deal, you might adjust your lifestyle to live a little bit longer. So less stress because they have the money they need. So I want to thank Tom Hegna. He's a guru in the industry for educating people about annuities and other items. And he uses this analogy, which we want to share with you here. So imagine this is how to understand mortality credits, by the way. So 5 90-year-old women take a vacation together. They had such a fun time, they decide to do it again next year, and they say, hey, let's each put $100 in a box, and next year we'll have a real nice dinner on our first night out. And so of course there's $500 in the box from the 5 ladies, but next year one of them doesn't make it back because she passes away. And now here they are with $500 to split 4 ways. So each person gets $125. Now think about this. There's a 25% return on the money in 12 months. How'd that happen? They weren't invested in anything. They didn't have any interest rate to earn. And the bottom line is they were paid in mortality credits. This is how that works. The people who live the longest are going to get the most out of annuities, but everybody is going to get the guarantee of lifetime income with it. If these ladies decided to roll the money again for the following year and come back, and one of them doesn't make that one, now we're at $167 a piece and 67% return over 2 years. And again, why? That's how the mortality credits work, is the bottom line. I find there's 2 schools of thought out there. There's a protection or a probability thinking. I'm certainly in the protection court, being in the insurance business. And in fact, I look at all of the products that I work with as safety nets. And the question becomes, how high or low, how narrow or wide, and how long do you want your safety net? You can project income where I can guarantee it with annuities. Investing with a safety net can often enhance outcomes and create a smoother ride with less stress along the way for your clients. Instead of having to make a portfolio last for 30 years or more, you can add a safety net. So one of these things that is becoming more popular, especially because interest rates rose, is a QLAC. A QLAC is a quality longevity annuity contract. It's a flavor of a DIA, or a deferred income annuity, but there's special parameters to it. In fact, you maximum can put in now, and these recently changed. You used to be able to put in a percentage of your account, limited, but now you can put up to $200,000 from your IRA into a QLAC, and you could put your total IRA in a QLAC if you only had 200,000 in there. Not necessarily recommending that, but just saying. And so in here, these are the numbers for a female age 65. At age 85, which is the longest age we can defer this money to, she would get an income of $8,100 a month for the rest of her life. That starts at age 85. So think about it. When you Monte Carlo project your investments and you come back and you tell a client that they have an 85% chance their money is going to make it to age 90, I assure you, some people are wondering, what if they're in the 15% quartile, and others are wondering, what if I live past 90? And again, this is where longevity annuities might come into play. So I want to address that in the case with the female 65 with life only, that has no contingencies on it. But if she wanted to make sure that if she dies before the income start age at age 85, she'd add the ROP, or the return of premium value, and that would cut down her income now to $6,700. So if she wants to win the bet, so to speak, in case she dies during the next 20 years, she wants to make sure the money comes back into her estate, then she's going to be guaranteed a lower amount. And to understand mortality credits even more, look at what it takes. So what I did is I ran today's numbers, assuming somebody's 85 today and they want to replicate the $8,100 a month in lifetime income. They would need to deposit $700,000 into an immediate annuity to start providing that amount of income. And if they wanted the ROP factor in there so that their money comes back to them, it'd be 875. So think about that. 20 years, your 200 kind of grows into the equivalent of 700. And that's a pretty decent rate of return for something that's absolutely guaranteed, but it's only that good because of the mortality credits for those that are actually living long to get it. So when we think about the protection side of protection versus probability, you all have seen the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, this is a financial version that we found out on the web, thanks to Island Savings Bank. Note that managing your money, things like making sure you are focused on your daily expenses and you reduce your debt and you establish cash flow and some constraints to your spending, if you will. But next up is creating your safety net. And in there, it says create an emergency fund, grow your savings, and protect yourself with insurance. And that's where annuities might come in when we're income planning or just protection planning for our assets. Too many advisors today that I see jump all the way up to accumulating wealth without regard to the safety nets or the strong foundation of their financial pyramid. So probability-wise, I recognize you might outinvest my income annuity. The problem will always be you're missing some vital components for the analysis. You don't know when somebody's going to die or how long they'll live, what you'll actually earn from investing, what the tax rates will be along the way. And ultimately, all of the income, note that I don't need to do, we move on. Perspective. I'm only in the protection business, but I do understand both sides of the debate. As a fiduciary, should the client have a say when they are deciding if they're in the probability or the protection camp? Is Ken Fisher right when he says you should hate annuities too? Isn't the question more of which clients and which situations call for an annuity as the right tool? As a fiduciary, should you offer certain clients an annuity? And if you're not doing that, perhaps you want to document why you've not shown one to your client in certain situations. Again, this is where the fiduciary rules are coming down across America and have a double-edged sword, if you will. In fact, I've seen a few fee-only planners convert back to fee-based so they can offer annuities and garner the compensation from a commission side. And so, like life insurance, I think the beauty of an annuity is in the eye of the beholder. I can paint the picture and the beauty of an annuity, but only you and or your client can decide if they want one. I can help you determine if, when, and where an annuity can enhance or protect a client outcome or concern. Then I can help you and your client become a professional annuity shopper to find the best annuity for the situation and goals at hand. So let's take a look at the different types of annuities. In the income section, there's really two. There's an immediate annuity, or there's a deferred annuity, which covers the DIAs and the QLACs. In the deferred annuity, there's a MYGA, the multi-year guaranteed annuity. These are much more popular today with interest rates going up. There's indexed annuities, which are certainly often misrepresented, but essentially an indexed annuity, you might expect a 1 or 2% better return than the MYGA is the reality of them. And there are going to be stretches when indexed annuities have done exceptionally well against other things, but in the long run, to expect an index to do much better than a fixed rate is not practical or realistic from where I'm at. And structured annuities, these happen with lawsuits and things like that, certain special situations. And then, of course, there are variable annuities, which are more investment-oriented versus protection. And when we put things on a risk assessment grid, lowest risk to the far right is cash, CDs, then fixed annuities, and then indexed annuities. And you can see the rest on there. So many of our decisions come down to risk and reward, and that's a thing that you have to manage with your clients. One of the core selection criteria when shopping for an annuity is the carrier that you use. We're going to take a look at some of the financial aspects of certain insurance companies in the annuity business. Quality does matter, especially when using lifetime income annuities versus a short duration deferred annuity. So on the board are some stats from Vital Signs on 5 different carriers. You see the AM Best and other rating organizations and what they rate these specific carriers at. What I want to focus on is the bottom line, the Comdex ranking. We see 56 for A, 75 for C, and a 90 for E. And what the Comdex is a percentile telling you how strong the company is compared to others in the industry. So the 56 says that they're stronger than a little bit more than half of the carriers out there. And again, I might consider using a 5-year MYGA with a company like that. But when it comes to lifetime income, I want strong because I want to make sure the company's around to fulfill the promise. Now, there are state regulations that back up annuities. Essentially, on average, they cover about $250,000. So again, if you're doing $1 million deposit, maybe you want to diversify amongst some carriers. I would be suggesting for lifetime income, choose the strongest of carriers. But if the carrier's only in the annuity business, they suffer more if they didn't properly measure and price their guarantees. They'll incur losses, causing them to eat into their reserves if they didn't do it right. And with lower ratings, less advisors and clients are apt to use that carrier. The risk, again, is always larger when you're dealing with lifetime income. So one of the other things I look for is what other businesses are the insurance company in? Because if we take as an example, Carrier A, they are an annuity specialty company. 100% of their stuff comes from that. They might do a little bit of life, but they're not making a profit, at least last year. And so I would much rather, if I look at this outlay of different carriers, their premium sizes, their asset sizes and such, I'm most likely to pick carrier E because I know this. If they misdiagnosed and miscalculated the guarantee, and they're going to lose money from some of their lifetime incomes because people are living longer than they thought. If that happens, the life insurance side of their business is more profitable because people are living longer and they're not paying death benefits as early. And so it's better, all things equal, it's better to be with a carrier that is more diversified with life and annuities versus a straight annuity company. And again, especially for lifetime income, these things are. So here's a conundrum for you. We have a QLAC here for a 55-year-old male. So he's got a 30-year baking time before age 85 when the income starts. Carrier C with a Comdex of 75 is going to guarantee 214,000, and Carrier D with a very strong Comdex is going to guarantee 169. Which one should we pick? I have some concerns of the company C being 25% better in income. Did they calculate that right where things going to be? It's a long time for 30 years to bake and then maybe another 15 years or so of lifetime income. And so maybe again, we buy some of both and diversify, but these are some of the situations that you have to deal with when you choose which carrier, rate over quality. Now, an annuity is just a tool. People buy a tool to accomplish something. So you don't buy a drill because you want a drill. You buy a drill because you want a hole. And so it is with annuities. You buy them because you want what they do, not necessarily what they are. So when you talk to people about the word lifetime income, that has more resonance than when I say the word annuity, because there's a lot of bad connotations connected with annuities. Some of that deservedly so. Annuities provide guarantees in place of projections. They guarantee you won't run out of money even if you run out of assets, and they increase the percentage of a positive outcome while adding peace of mind. They protect the rest of your assets from having to be liquidated at the wrong time, and they help you remove or minimize the sequence of return risk when structured in certain ways. So let's look at some case studies, some real world scenarios here. But before I dive into this, I just want to, if you came in a few minutes late, we want you to log your 50 minutes, please. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A box. And we would appreciate you filling in the survey that'll pop up when you close out of today's thing. At least fill in your CFP code or let us know you're not one. And you'll have a second chance at filling that in. If you can't do it today, tomorrow you'll get an email for the same thing. So appreciate you at least paying attention to the CFP code, but we'd like to know what else you want to hear from us too as far as courses. So today's reality is that income rider annuities are offering better income than SPIAs and DIAs. Now, this is counter to common sense, if you will, and how these things actually work. But reality is reality. And so today, if I'm dealing with lifetime income, I know to look at FIAs with an income rider and compare it to the SPIAs or DIAs that we might do. So this is just one example that we calculated recently. Somebody was looking to create even more income in 10 years. They're going to maximize their Social Security by waiting to age 70, and they wanted to set some more money aside to have some more fixed income. And so in this, a deferred income annuity is kind of set in stone. You give us 300,000 and 10 years from now, we start paying 30,000 a year for the rest of your joint lives. But an FIA, a fixed indexed annuity with a GWIB, guaranteed withdrawal income benefit, would pay 40,000 a year. That's significantly more. They're both quality carriers and products, and so it's easy to say that we should buy the income rider version under this scenario. Now, our client chronicles, when you see them up here, these are real world stories. We either know all of the outcome or we know some of, we know most of them, and we're only waiting for one more result to happen here. So with this, I want to share the story of Nellie. We're going back to 2013 here when she was 62 years old. She had had $1 million in the market, and I got to tell you, her advisor did a great job of, excuse me one second. Her advisor did a great job of keeping her fully invested, but she had remembered how much things went down in 2008. And with this money in 2013, she wanted it totally safe. So we only had a choice of looking at principal protecting annuities, which would be a deferred fixed or a deferred indexed. So we ended up buying the indexed annuity, which we'll share reasons why in a minute. So what happened is 5 years later, she decided to fully retire, and she was ready now to annuitize for lifetime income that annuity that she had had. And the 400 grew to 460 over that time period. That was a 3% rate of return that she earned. And now she bought an immediate annuity that was going to give her $2,500 a month for the rest of her life. It's equivalent to a 6.7% drawdown rate. And 80% of that 2,500 was going to be income tax free for quite a while until they pay back her full principal. So when we look at things with hindsight, we're going into that show now. Did she make a good deal? Deal or no deal, right? So in 2013, we were looking at a 10-year treasury that was under 2%. We were looking at a 5-year CD that was under 1%. Annuities weren't much better than the 1% at the time for fixed annuities. And so we decided to go with the indexed annuity to have the downside protection and upside potential. And it did work out comparatively for those 5 years. We earned 3.1%, and that's better than she would have done with the other safe options there. But we have to go beyond, because one other concern out there is to annuitize in a low market environment, right? In 2018, she did annuitize the money. And here's, if had she waited, 7 more years, or 6 more years, excuse me. If she waited till today at age 72 to annuitize that, she would have gotten $3,100 a month. But because 73 months were already paid, you can see the comparative there. She is still ahead of the game. And only if she lives to age 100 would the idea of waiting longer for higher interest rates and annuitizing then been a better deal for her. So just looking back, we consider this a win, and the longer she lives, the more mortality credit she'll get, and the better that lifetime income annuity turns out to be. Another real world example here is with Al. I was brought in by a fee-only advisor to audit Al's life insurance policies. He was a corporate executive. He had some corporate policies. They were dealing with split dollar, which we had to unwind, and other items. And long story short, he did keep some policies and he was getting rid of other ones. And one of the ones that he kept had a significant, one of the ones that we wanted to get rid of because of the shape of the company was that had a big profit in the policy. And so I said we could cash out of that if we want, but probably what makes more sense is just to 1035 exchange the life policy to an annuity policy. And again, because of where we were in 2018 and what our options were, Alan and his advisor chose to go with the indexed annuity again. And so note, our 12-month CD was only 1.7, or a 5-year CD was 2.3, treasuries were 2.4. So, we had downside protection. We wanted the upside potential. And so this is what turned out for Al. He ended up, as of earlier this year, so far, 6 years into this, he's had a 4.64% IRR throughout the 6-year period. And so when Al decides to take income, or if he cashes out of this, he'll owe the gain along the way, or at that time if he cashes fully. And stay tuned to what the story is, but we'll continue to monitor this. So some people may want to avoid a bad sequence of returns as they close in on retirement. Here's a classic example. So what we're looking at is Jim and Mary versus Bob and Jane. And all we did here was we transposed the returns. The green, the first year return for Jim and Mary was the last year return for Bob and Jane. So Bob and Jane started with a positive 26% return and Jim and Mary didn't. And the bottom line is with a 5% drawdown rate here of the 25,000, the protection thinking, if we're looking at protection thinking, Jim and Mary ran out of money in 13 years and we didn't protect them, if you will. The probability thinking for Bob and Jane is, hey, I can pay that money all these years and double the balance through investing. And our average return throughout these years is 6.7%. Now, we'll include this piece in your kit just so you know, but I want to just look at this with a little bit of current day perspective. If we took the 500,000 and bought a joint lifetime income today, we'd be able to yield $33,000 a year for them. We wouldn't have to worry about running out of money. I'm going to share a study from the Wharton School a little bit later that kind of addresses this situation. So the sequence of returns is an issue because no matter what you Monte Carlo, you can't eliminate the sequence of return risk. Think about somebody who retired in 2007. They experienced 2008, and maybe they never recovered if they needed a large income from their asset base. So what's your max drawdown rate? You need to figure that out for clients because what if they're eating into principal along the way and you see the reality that they could run out of money? Maybe that's a time to buy a SPIA and take that risk of running out of money away from them. Principal, and for those that are within 5 years of their let me show this next slide here. The tender years are the first 5 years before and first 5 years into retirement. If you had a big downturn, then it could be a concern. And so some people that are honing in on the retirement time for them, maybe you want to put some assets in deferred annuities so that they at least protect the principal, even if you're not sure whether you're going to annuitize or not later. This would be some of the thinking that you could do. Now, we showed you Nervous Nelly and Al both bought indexed annuities. Today, because of the higher rates coming up, a lot of people are choosing MYGAs or multi-year guaranteed annuities in place of some of the indexed annuity products. And so we show you the array of different carriers available today. And to the far right, I want to highlight a few things here. The W that you see in the 5-year rate lock, there's 2 carriers that have walk-away annuities. And I want to discuss this with you because this is important. It's something that I see going on that's going to be a problem down the road. There's a lot of people choosing a deferred annuity just on the guaranteed rate. So as an example, the 5.4% is our best rate with a small carrier, not with great ratings. And so my contention here is because these are not walk-away annuities, these carriers are going to offer you a period of time when you can get out of the annuity. Otherwise, it's going to rate lock again. And some of these carriers are in the bait and switch mode, or just as a matter of their size and the infrastructure that they have, if a whole lot of people bought annuities and a lot of them come due at a similar time, their staff could be stressed out processing the release of these annuities before the rate lock happens again. And that's why I prefer a walk-away annuity. A walk-away annuity means that at the end of the time period, the surrender charge is gone and it won't reoccur. And just from my knowledge and history at some carriers, there's more integrity for them to want to provide a competitive renewal rate at the end of the 5 years, or whatever your rate lock time is, there's more of an onus for them wanting to give you a credible rate because they don't want you to leave and you're not locked in with a new surrender charge. And so, I prefer walkaway annuities, but we absolutely want to track our rate locks. And I suggest that you contact a client about 90 days before the rate is going to renew so that you can discuss and decide what you're going to do. And if you're going to move the annuity away, you have plenty of time to get that done. Again, I have some concern with just the resources available and the team available at some of these smaller carriers. They might be the cause that you didn't get out in time, and hopefully they'll honor it. Then the last thing on the bottom that you see here is MVA, or market value adjustment. Bonds, and this is the same thing. So carriers have to protect themselves from too many people, causing them to sell their bonds earlier than they should have and such. And so they put in a market value adjustment to it. So in addition to a surrender charge, you might be losing some more money or gaining a little bit if it's there. But this is the same thing as bonds. When interest rates go up, bond values go down, and vice versa. And so if the rates have gone up from the time you bought, not a problem necessarily, or it could be a problem if we have to sell the bonds, we have to liquidate and lose. If they go down, we could see some value increase there. I hope I have that right while I'm yapping a lot here to you. So, moving on, some unique uses of annuities. Now, this first one isn't going to be all that exciting, and the reason being is we don't have a long baking time, and so there's very little mortality credit added into this situation as a reality. And so just a female age 65 looking to defer her Social Security, but she still wants to retire at 65. She needs some extra income. So we could take a lump sum of 164,000 and provide a 5-year only income amount of 3,000 a month. So that's 3.19% IRR on that. Not too exciting, and maybe we could put the money in a money market and do better. I agree. But if rates drastically went down, this could be better. And there is something to be said of the automatic part of this as well, where you just carve out a chunk of money and she's getting the income for the next 5 years, so she can defer her Social Security until age 70. If she knew she was going to do this at age 60, the amount we'd need to set aside would be 130. So you let it bake for 5 years and it starts paying you for 5 years, then it ends, and that's when your Social Security is going to kick in. So there's a second, sorry about that. There's a second part of this that you're reading a lot in the press lately, some stories and such about how they're going to cut Social Security because there's not enough. And they looked at a couple that was decent income earners and said between the couple at age 70, they could see a potential cut of up to 17,000 a year of income from their Social Security. And so if a 61-year-old couple wanted to set aside $130,000 today at age 70 in 9 years, we could replace that 17,000 a year if they do have a cut in Social Security. So just a couple of thoughts in dealing with annuities and lifetime income and the potential to defer your Social Security for that extra growth. Another client chronicle here, leverage for heirs, unique uses. Long story short on this was a high net worth couple. This is somebody that was a very successful advisor. And earlier in his career, when he was already max funding all other qualified plans that he could, he needed life insurance with younger kids, and he bought some variable life, and he was funding it okay. He didn't very heavily fund it. And so I was brought in to do an audit of his existing variable life policies on him and his wife. And the perspective has changed, right? The kids are growing. He's been very successful and grown to a higher net worth. And he was in not protect mode, he was in estate planning mode. Now looking at it isn't what I have that matters, it's what the kids are going to keep that matters. And so what we did is we looked at the annuities excuse me, we looked at the variable life policies. We looked at them at guarantees and projections, and one policy was funded okay. The other one, if they live long enough, was going to be a problem. And you can't 1035 exchange an individual policy into a second to die. And we didn't want to own anything in the estate. It was all about now shedding assets and getting them outside the estate. And so we needed to use a 10-year SPIA in order to take the combined value of 173 from the two policies. We purchased a 10-year only SPIA, and that's going to pay out. And so they're going to get 17,000 each year net of taxes from the SPIAs. They're going to have to add a little bit of money to that to pay the $20,000 premium for the next 10 years into the second to die. But what we did essentially was take what would have only been $450 or maybe a little less or more, depending on the future of what those VULs would have done. We got the insurance out of our taxable estate. We were able to do it using just annual exclusion gifts. We didn't have to use any of the lifetime exemption. And what we did was lock in guarantees because we used a guaranteed second to die. And even if they live 35 years out, the return is 5.26 net net. It's net net because this second to die is owned outside the estate. So we just used annuities as an interim and a conduit to make this work well and replace what would have been taxed, estate taxed life insurance proceeds in your estate. We moved it out, made it larger, and put guarantees under all of it. So the next use here is an example of what can happen when you have estate tax exposure. This is Ruth, a 65-year-old. She has a $4.5 million net worth, and she's legacy minded, didn't like the idea that she's going to be taxed by the state of Illinois when she dies. And she had significant non-qualified assets. So in this case, what we showed her was an arbitrage play with annuities. We're going to take $1 million and immediate annuitize it. Today, that'll give us a $71,000 a year of income for her lifetime. And because there's an exemption on some of that income, net of tax, she's going to net 65,000. Now understand, if she collects income long enough, the full 71 will be income taxable and the net will be lower. But we're going to take 20,000 and create an ILET to own a guaranteed life insurance policy, and that replaces the $1 million we just annuitized. This leaves her with 45,000 a year to spend right now, net of taxes. And I want to emphasize that immediately after this transaction is done, if she were to die for estate tax purposes, the state says she's only worth $3.5 million, and therefore she won't pay tax because any state taxes because she won't be over the 4 million mark. In Illinois, if you go $1 over 4 million, you're going to pay tax from $1, not just on the dollar that's over. And so we're saving $143,000 in taxes in this example. And I want to just emphasize that we have to use life-only annuity here. We don't want any contingencies where a residue comes back in the taxable estate that might keep us or might push us back over that 4 million amount. So to wrap up this one, we eliminated her estate exposure, further avoided federal tax. We don't know where that's going to go now with the recent election. The sunset might not sunset is the point. So we don't know where exemptions are going to be yet. We replaced the asset that we annuitized with life insurance outside. So the heirs are going to net they're going to net the full 4.5 million, and she's going to have some extra money to spend. And we also told her, look, you don't want to be saving all this money. You want to make gifts and stuff. If we don't want you to grow back above the 4 million is the point, or we might have to look at doing some more of this if that's the best idea. Now, earlier I mentioned this Wharton study. And I want to just emphasize that it came out in 2007, right before the big 2008 downturn in the market. So how timely is it? And a lot of people think that today's stock market is overvalued. And so maybe now is a good time to take some of those profits and protect the downside, put that safety net under us. And so this study essentially says that, look, you should have regular fixed income for your typical household expenses each year, and a little bit of play money in there, but maybe not the big trips or new cars or whatever down the road that you'll take out of assets when you need them. But their study went historical with actual returns and so forth, and looked at very different times of the market and timing of the market and such. And they said, look, if you need $80,000 a year to run the household, and you have 40 of it from Social Security, and you have 10,000 from some small pension, then that's 50,000. You need 30 more. Annuitize a chunk of money to provide that other 30. What that allows you to do is grow the rest of the pile at a more aggressive idea. You know that a portfolio set up for income is totally different than a portfolio set up for growth. And so what they concluded in this study is that an annuity can provide a substantial savings over stock, bond, and cash mixes. They know that retirement planning breaks down when people live past life expectancy, right? It's easy if you die early. We can all manage money and give you enough income, but it's when you live longer that the risk is more prevalent. And income annuities are most effective in addressing this longevity risk, is the long and short of it. And so because of the contingencies that we shared earlier, more people can buy annuities and not feel scorned, because they can put contingencies so they don't lose everything if they did die early after it. And so reading this, George Bernard Shaw once quipped that if you laid all the economists end to end, they still wouldn't reach a conclusion, except for when it comes to annuities in retirement. MIT and Wharton and Berkeley and others, as you can see, are all pro using some kind of lifetime income annuity in the retirement planning process. So the answer is not always, as some people in my industry think, and it's not never either, like Ken Fisher might think. And so if we look at facts, we don't know when you're going to die, we don't know what you're going to earn, and we don't know which one will turn out best. That's the fact. Only hindsight will give us the insight as to whether or not that annuity was great. But as far as dealing with feelings, annuities can enhance the patience with your clients, increase their confidence, provide peace of mind, again, allowing them to ride out the ups and downs in the market more without the concern, because they have the regular steady income they know that they need. So the key questions are, when should we use an annuity? Who should have an annuity? Which of your clients should you be discussing them with? And so the protection side, again, we're going to have people that maybe are sleeping better, live longer. As we said earlier, there's some correlation with people with annuities are living longer, as some of the studies are showing. And we certainly know they won't run out of money if they have some lifetime income. And so the probability side of things, thinking, what level of risk are you willing to take? What is your max drawdown rate? So if a client starts eating into principal and gets too high of a drawdown rate, maybe it's time you have to annuitize. And what are you going to do if the plan derails? Again, I believe that there will be some litigious situations out there for people who are running out of money or ran out of money and weren't showing annuities or knowing about them from advisors. So it works both ways. Not everybody should have an annuity, but it's not none either. And so I suggest you discuss, decide, and document the conversations with your clients as to an annuity. So we're getting into wrapping down here, and if you didn't add any questions in the Q&A, please do so. We'll get to them in a few minutes. And We're here to review existing or proposed annuities to your clients. We have a lot of tools and insights. We can have a wide access to carriers and help you identify, analyze, prepare, and present annuity-based solutions to your clients for income as you like. And just quickly, our annuity toolkit, we're going to send 2 pieces on the taxation and the titling of annuities. So you can keep those as a resource. When you're reviewing people's existing annuities, those will probably be helpful. We have our integrated insight showing our QLAC details and comparisons. We have an annuity selection roadmap for you to kind of decide which or if an annuity is there. Our sequence of return piece is there, and then an annuity income design questionnaire helping you help me get the right information that I need to help you decide if or which annuity might be appropriate for your clients. And so with that, I want to thank you for taking time today to learn with us, and encourage you to please fill in your survey, at least your CFP code. And I want to mention that our next and last for the year presentation will be December 11th. We're debuting a brand new presentation that I built. It's going to be part of a 3-part series on life insurance. This one is called Life by Design. We're going to take a look at the history and evolution of life insurance products from a macro level. And I just believe too many people are lost in the trees and they don't see the forest these days. And so this presentation is the start of a 3-part life series, which will finish the other 2 next year. So with that, let me take a look at any questions and such, and I'm going to stop recording now too. So bear with me. Okay.